Hello everyone and welcome to a new video in my hemostasis series as we're discussing how we stop bleeding. And in this video we're going to discuss the platelet phase, so specifically looking at platelets, what they do, etc. So we're going to be focusing on four big things. We're going to look at what platelets do in hemostasis. We're going to look at how platelets get activated, how they adhere, and how they aggregate to help seal a wound and seal a cut. So to understand the role that platelets play in hemostasis and the cessation of bleeding, we want to know that platelets have three main properties. There's three main properties. And the first property we're going to see is they aggregate. And when we say they aggregate, what we are saying is they gather together. They like to come together and gather. They adhere. They have an adhesiveness. They adhere. They have adhesiveness. They stick together. And then they agglutinate. And that means they clump. And so this is to say they clump together. So given that they're able to come together, stick together, and clump together, this is going to allow it to seal a small wound in a blood vessel's wall. So we're going to see that's a very big thing in understanding its main role in the whole hemostasis process. So to visualize what's going on, we want to focus mostly on this whole idea of activation, and then as we do activation, we'll look at how they ended up, how they stick together and form the clot, form a platelet plug. So to do this, what we want to do is revisit the area where we're dealing with is inside the bloodstream. So inside of a blood vessel we are, and showing a normal endothelium. One of the things that I emphasized in the very first video on this series is that normal, happy, healthy, intact endothelial cells are going to prevent unwanted blood clots. They're going to be producing inhibitory factors. They're going to prevent a cell from adhering, etc., and causing unwanted clots. And then what we're going to do is inside here, we want to draw a platelet who is in a disc shape, who is inactive, who's asleep. He's a very sleepy platelet, and we're going to see how we turn these guys on. Now, there are two major things that stimulate a platelet and activate them at first, the two primary things that are going to occur. So what has to happen is the platelet, though it is traveling through here, we get an injury. And now this injury has now prevented our little endothelial cells are now exposed, and they're going to do some things. We were talking about how they got sticky and stuff like that by producing endothelins who are going to help in some of this process. They're also going to have some little collagen fibers that are going to be sticking out and coming up into the blood. So these exposed collagen fibers are actually capable of activating a platelet. Is exposed collagen fibers. An exposed collagen fiber can activate it. And then also from injured cells, they will start to release coagulation factors. They will start to release things that can help stimulate coagulation. Now remember, coagulation will occur, and what coagulation will produce is a molecule called thrombin, and thrombin can activate a platelet. Now we also know that this thrombin will go on to turn fibrinogen into fibrin, which we'll see during the coagulation phase video. So what occurs is after this has happened, we're going to wake up our platelet. We've got him woken up, and when they are active, they will get these extensions. Their cytoplasm will extend out. They'll change into this active form, and we're going to look at how this plays a role as well. And two things that are going to be crucial for us to talk about is that there are some vesicles and compartments inside here called granules. One of these granules is called an alpha granule, and the other one is called a dense granule. And they produce different compounds. Now, sometimes I like to call dense granules sac granules. Sometimes I'll refer to them as a sac granule. Why do I do that? Is that they produce three substances, S, A, and C. They make serotonin, they make ADP, and they produce calcium. Now, if we produce ADP molecules, ADP, adenosine diphosphate, will help activate even more platelets. So not only are the platelets getting activated by coagulation factor thrombin, but they're also going to get activated by ADP from activated platelets going back and activating more platelets. Now, they're also going to produce a molecule called serotonin. And among other things that serotonin does, serotonin is going to help in aggregation. And it's also going to make a molecule, an ion, calcium ion, Ca++, calcium cation, the two extra protons that we see there, and it helps in adhesion. So let's write here, this is for adhesion, and this is for aggregation. And that, at least in terms of these cells, is what their primary functions are. Now, that's your sac granules. Now, the alpha granules, they make, again, another three big important products. Now, these aren't all the products they make, but one we really going to mention here, first off, is a molecule already been mentioned called thrombin. And an activated platelet will produce thrombin from alpha granules, who will come in and stimulate more inactive platelets to become an activated platelet and be able to do a few things. Now, also, this cell, this alpha granule, will secrete a protein that is a very important receptor, because this plays an important role in an important disease, von Willebrand disease. And this is the von Willebrand Factor Receptor. So what it does is it binds to the von Willebrand factor that's going to be produced by some activated endothelial cells. And I'm going to show you guys that in the next coming up. And another protein that it's going to produce, another kind of receptor, is a glycoprotein. This glycoprotein receptor, that is glycoprotein 2B, which is kind of easy to just think of 2B or not 2B, and also 3A. This is glycoprotein 2B and 3A, and what this does is binds to fibrinogen, and this is going to help to form the secondary platelet plug or secondary hemostatic plug when coagulation happens. See, coagulation reactions are going to occur mostly on the surface of the platelets that we're going to see. So the thing that I want to make sure we understand about von Willebrand factor and the glycoprotein 2B and 3A is what is occurring when a platelet's been activated. So here again, let's make sure we have our normal, happy, healthy endothelium, knowing that it prevents the unwanted clots, and we've injured our cells and we've opened that up, and these injured cells are going to start to produce a molecule called von Willebrand factor, VW factor, and it's going to get laid in this area. So now that it's made it, what I'm going to do is erase this to make it a little bit easier to visualize what's going on. Is an activated platelet who is coming through here, who's been activated. Remember, they get a unique shape when they've been activated, it will allow this von Willebrand receptor to snag and get caught, and they're going to be adhered to this area, and activated platelets will come in. And when fibrin is being produced, these cells who bind to fibrin, they're going to produce that 2B and 3A glycoprotein receptor. Fibrin's going to be able to adhere to this and reinforce the clot and produce what is called the secondary platelet plug. Now, that's going to be more important so much when we get to coagulation cascade, but I want to make sure we understand that a primary platelet plug is when you just take the platelets and they adhere, they aggregate, but when coagulation comes in and produces fibrin, and the fibrin comes in and helps to stabilize this, reinforce it, we call this secondary platelet plug or secondary hemostatic plug. And so what we want to make sure we understand is especially this role of von Willebrand factor receptors from the alpha granules, and how they're going to snag on the von Willebrand factor secreted by endothelial cells, and how all this process works. And if you please take the time to draw these out with me as we go through them. I'm doing them as smaller videos because by itself it'd be too big, but I think it's digestible and easy to see these processes when we break them down this way. So this concludes my video on the platelet phase, and get ready as soon as possible. I'm going to have one on coagulation phase for you guys, hopefully to enjoy. I enjoy making these videos. I really hope you take time to comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you would like to see in future videos. And as always, thanks for watching.